Alright guys, I got a Baldwin 6070 series patio function mortise case. It needs to be fully reversed today, so we're going to be changing the bevel of the latch bolt itself as well as the hub assembly so that the lock side and unlock sides are reversed. It came in the wrong hand and we're doing the Christmas crunch. I see we got some intense little lever springs going on down in here for the hubs, and this pin will ultimately need to be pulled to reset this latch bevel to the other side. So I'm going to use this Baldwin disassembly block today. They come in handy. I've got it in other posts. So the first thing we want to do is seat the lock on the block, and that just has a couple pins that kind of hold the hubs and the thumb turn, cam unit or whatever in relative position. So let's take it apart. Get the cover screws out. We got one more screw hiding underneath this label. I'm going to poke that with a small driver, and it's too tight for a small driver. I like to keep the hole small and a little warranty label. But we're going for a big screwdriver. Just run that out. So I'm going to get this cover off of here. Take a look. Raising it up, sliding it out, right? Nothing on the backside but a little bit of grease. Maybe they want that to be redistributed. And here we go. So looks like it might not be too bad. This button stop is what's doing the locking. So if we reverse that, it'll automatically change the function of these two spindle hubs. They're basically identical, where both of these could theoretically be stopped as far as the hub's concerned, but this block here is notched. So I'm just gonna lift out this little, you can call that a motion bar, stop driver. Just lifting that off of the deadbolt and the stop itself, and then this stop. You see this is notched, so it's locking on this side and not on the lower side. So this is going to do a 180 flip, nothing to that. Drop it back in here, and we've officially reversed which side and which lever is going to be locked. So that was easy. We need to get down and change over the bevel of this here, which is probably going to be the work of the day. So I'm going to pull parts. It looks like there's a little brass washer here on top. Don't want to lose track of that. Nothing on the back side. And looks like the hubs are probably going to have to come out to get this latch bolt out of here. So I'm going to start by pulling. There's a spring loaded back here, providing some of the spring for the unit itself. I'm just trying to raise this up. You see that spring just let loose right there in the corner? So it's no longer got tension. Let's see. Keep on coming, buddy. Oh, it's actually captive on both sides of that latch bolt. It's forked on the bottom. So at this point, we're going to just go for these hubs. I'm going to try and raise this hub up. And it's coming apart in pieces. This has got a spring and it's wound just like that one, coming up under this post. So that's our top hub. It's coming off. The bottom hub could probably stay because this latch bolt's just going to flip over, or maybe not because of this. And there goes the spring. We just blew that anyway. And now you can see here what I'm talking about. This is a fork, so I've just slid that off of there. It's on both sides of that latch bolt. go ahead and release this latch spring here, which is on a pin. So if I push in on this with a better tool than that, it's coming out the back side of the case. So I'm pushing in, and there it shot. So that loads, in the top of this latch bolt. And now this just needs to flip. So it's currently captive by this bent pin that's on the anti-friction part of the latch, which I heard one guy call a UL, which probably for the cycles test was when that kind of got created. So Baldwin bends this pin a little bit. We're going to try and bend it back. Let's pull it up out of there. So I've just straightened it a little bit, squeeze in between the face of the case and the bolt itself, and then we'll just try and raise it up. They got a little flat side here for us to get a hold of. I'll pull that out of there. Set it aside, right? And now this bolt's ours. So we take it out. I'm going to give it a flip. Put it back in. And I've got it in its relative position, so it still needs to be pinned on the other side. I don't know if we do that after the fact or now. So, I'm not afraid to take anything else apart, so we could just attempt to flip it. We'll go ahead and pull the deadbolt out here. It's drive cam unit, spring for it, hooks into a notch in the top of the case up here, and loads. And then I can just take that out. And there's not a whole lot to go wrong in here now. There's only 3 parts. So if you want, we'll strip it. Well, we'll leave that latch in there. I'm just going to take it off the block. There's nothing under spring pressure at this point. None of that matters. So I'm going to put 2 fingers on here, give it a flip, and get this pin in on the other side. The hole for that pin looks quite small. I almost wonder if they've even got it drilled, but just trying to get a grip of the pin. There's a hole there, so I'm starting through the hole, do a little juggling here, kind of try to position that anti-friction latch deal. I'm going into more of a push mode now. Oh, we lost the part. Alright, there we go. I got that started through. And it needs to find the hole on the other side. It's still a little bent over there, so it's not liking to find it. Like I say, it's almost questionable whether or not it's drilled over there. But I swear I see it. I think it started through, and it just needs to go. There we go. It was. So that's pushed back through. I should note that I dropped that in with the flat side from Baldwin at the top. That way with gravity, it'll never fall out of there. Then with this bend that we're going to do, just like they did, from the edge of the case, it'll never raise up either. So that's now bent. That pin is captive, and our latch is online. So let's try and undo everything that I've got discombobulated. Looks like this was this way, right? And let's get our spring unit back in there. So it just shoves through the latch itself. I'm gonna raise that latch up to make it easier. Come on. So you see that kind of just pushes through like that. So I've got spring loaded. I'm going to shoot it back out the hole in the back of the case. There it went, right there. So the latch bolt's online. We need to get that little forked hook back in there. So let's do that before we go too far. Raise the latch bolt a little, shove that in. Centering the spring on this post here. And we'll attempt to go ahead and load that in position there and get that whole spring bar down. So that's assisting the latch and the lever in its return. This latch here is basically for when the door closes on its own, and this latch is helping our two hubs to operate. So now we need to load our second spring in here. Which I'm just pushing it up against that post, and it just needs to kind of pressure wind onto this tension pin here. And maybe it's better to do it in reverse. Let's go for the tension pin. I'm gonna hook on the tension pin side first, and then just try and swing this spring down, just doing it with my finger and shoving it under that post. Now it needs to seat around the hub. And it looks like it's on and down. So, no reason we can't put this deadbolt back in here. Shove it through the hole, get it in its slot. This was big side down this time around. And that's where it's locking that hub on that side. But the other side can clear that and operate. And then drive for the deadbolt. We're going to hook this spring in the top. It's like my yoke. It's going crooked. Straighten that out. So I'm just hooking in the top of the case here. Going to bend this around and load it onto that piece. That's done. Now we've got our second hub with its spring, and that needs to be loaded in a similar fashion, but it is hidden from view. So this side's still against this little stop pin. I'm going to try and pull down on that and ride it underneath this post as it comes in there. Looks like the way to do that is I'm hooking it on that post, and then I'll try and give it its under spring tension at this point. I'm going to load it around and push down until we clear that post and drop. So that's on there and loaded. And there's not a whole lot left. We had this little piece with the washer on top that sits right on there, and I believe probably we can maybe see what that does. I think that's a deadlocker. When the bolt throws, that'll drop maybe and block the latch from retracting. Not sure though. Second little bar was in here over that post, and that's what drives this back and forth. We can go ahead and do an attempted operation. I'm going to just drive this deadbolt, pushing in on it to keep it together. And while that throws, maybe you guys can watch and see what happens down here. So this is coming into lock. Alright, that deadlockery thing is raising up. And it's not actually doing anything with this function lock. It's just hung up in the middle there, not really stopping this from coming back. There's a little too much tension on this deadbolt in the thrown position. I'm going to retract it, put this cover back on. And that's it. Warranty sticker screw up top. All right, should be rehanded. Should be complete. So when we throw the deadbolt, deadbolt's thrown. Test the pull side of the door. Not locked. That's what we wanted. Deadbolt's thrown. The secure side of the door is locked. Now, this has a button, but the faceplate does not have a hole for that button. Funny thing, when you push the button, it actually throws the deadbolt. But that's not accessible from the customer. Rock on, people. Privacy function, Baldwin, rehand.